You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate having you guys come by. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you. It gives you that wonderful Chris Voss Show glow, as we like to call it, in your cup of coffee in the morning or whenever you listen to the show, so that you can learn how to make your life better, learn great stories, see amazing authors, all the CEOs, billionaires, White House presidents, advisors, great newsmakers that we have on this show. It's just a plethora of amazing people, show after show, for over 16 years. So be sure to subscribe to the show, goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today we have an amazing, prolific, multi-book author on the show. Robert Rotstein joins the show with us today, and he is the author of the new book that's just coming out June 25th, 2024. It is called The Out-of-Town Lawyer, and we're going to get into what's in his new book. He is the author of We, the Jury, a USA Today bestseller, and a Suspense Magazine best thriller of 2018. With James Patterson, he's the author of The Family Lawyer, the title story of the New York Times best-selling collection. He's written Corrupt Practices, Reckless Disregard, and The Bomb Maker's Son, a series about a lawyer, Parker Stern. He practices intellectual property law with the Los Angeles firm of Mitchell Silverberg. There we go. And Knupp. I'm fighting a camera that's right in front of me. And has represented all the major movie studios and record companies, as well as known directors and writers. And hopefully he'll never sue me. Welcome to the show. How are you, Robert?
I'm well, and thanks for having me, Chris.
There you go. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And boy, you write books on attorneys. Who knew? As an attorney.
Surprise. I haven't fallen far from the tree.
There you go. You probably have a collection of amazing stories you can tap into being an attorney. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
Okay, my website is robertrotstein.com, and you can find the formerly Twitter, now X. I still have trouble saying that, sorry. Instagram and Facebook links on robertrotstein.com.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book, The Out-of-Town Lawyer?
Okay, it starts with Destiny Grace Harper, a woman who lives in small town Alabama, getting pregnant with twins. And unfortunately, they suffer with a rare disorder that's fatal, or at least highly disabling if not treated, if the twins live at all. And it's, however, treatable by minimally invasive in utero surgery. But Destiny Grace refuses to have the surgery because she's a member of a church that doesn't believe in medical intervention. The babies die, and she's charged with murder by a district attorney in Alabama. And so that's the start. And, the protagonist, attorney named Elvis Henderson, who travels the country in a van doing justice, comes back to Alabama to try to save her life.
There you go. So give us a 30,000. We'll round back to the book, but give us a 30,000, or not a 30,000. No, we're done. The brain's dying at the end of the day here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you grow up? What influenced you to become a writer? How did you first know when you'd become a writer, or starting to show inklings of it, and then get down this road where you've published a massive number of books?
I grew up in Culver City, California, which, within stone's throw of what was then a backlot of the MGM studios. Culver City was the real Hollywood, where MGM was. The police, I don't know if they still do, but their patches read the heart of Screenland, so something the city was very proud of. And it had nothing to do with the entertainment industry, but was interested. And then growing up, I was kind of obsessed with Perry Mason, which was a mystery, but I really liked the TV show called The Defenders, maybe long forgotten, but that starred E.G. Marshall and Robert Reed, who later became, the Dad Brady on the Brady Bunch. But it was only around for a few years, but it treated issues like abortion, obscenity, euthanasia, white supremacy. It was really ahead of its time. And I was really fascinated with that. So I became a lawyer, not realizing that, maybe I really wanted, after watching those shows, was to write about the law, and ended up doing copyright law, doing a lot of entertainment related work and ending copyright cases. And even though I'd always wanted to write, a lot of these copyrighted cases involve people who couldn't write at all, but thought they'd written early on. It was it was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then they thought they'd written the next Forrest Gump and that someone's written me off, and it didn't happen. And even though I wanted to write, I didn't want to be one of those people. Fine line between, creativity and rationality. You think, a job doing copyright law is not dangerous, but I've had my life threatened.
Really?
I have. I had a restraining order against someone. I had the deponent accused me of a sad person. It's humorous in the telling, but really not. It accused me of spraying poison gas at the behest of the first President Bush under the table at a deposition. Another woman said that I put Rohypnol in her tab during a break. None of it, for the record, none of it true. And I didn't want to be that person and be unrealistic. No. And then I got older, family got a little older and family grew up. And I had an expert witness who taught writing. And after the case was over, I said, I want to do that. And he said, send me something. And it was pretty bad, but he said, you got some talent, keep going. And that started me a little bit later in life.
There you go. That's always a good way to get clients to pay their bills too. Have them do some trade for learning to write. maybe have them do some editing. I don't know if they're good at it. So there you go.
They are or not, they'll edit. The clients always edit the work, which is helping me as a writer, frankly.
I owned a mortgage company for nearly 20 years, and so we would get attorneys as clients to do their mortgages, and you guys have one hell of an outstanding AR book. You got some guy, and not probably for what you're doing, but you'll have I'll see attorneys, they'll have a guy that owes them a horrendous amount of money, and the guy's in prison making $10 payments, I guess, out of his thing or something. And I'm like, you ever gonna seal that money? And probably not.
The most demanding clients are the ones who don't pay the bills. They want you to be on the phone at all times and do X, Y, and Z, and
yeah, that seems to be the same thing in all businesses. It's always those guys. So anyway, let's get back to the out-of-town lawyer. Now, you set this up in Alabama. Do you normally set your books up in that area, or was there a reason you chose Alabama?
Yeah, interesting enough, my Monner family, my wife spends most of her time in Alabama. I spend most of my time in LA. We travel back and forth. Wow. She's a writer, the co-author, as well as a lawyer, and we met at a writers' conference. I want to practice law in Alabama. I have a house there that I spend some time there in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm sort of the out-of-town lawyer. Not
Is this a bio? Something we need to know about?
No. So that's so I got familiar. Was sort of interested in an outsider's view of justice there. And also, it's at the time, and things have changed. I started writing this before the Dobbs case came down, but Alabama had the most restrictive, anti-abortion law in the country at the time. So I thought it would be a good place to set, a mother's rights versus the unborn story.
Definitely topical for what's going on right now in America. And there's all sorts of stuff going on with the abortion laws and where you can do them, and it's a hot topic. You're putting your finger on the pulse there.
Yeah, it's not only that. There are some cases that really go out there. What really inspired me, there's one that in particular that really got to me, and it's part of the impetus of this book, and that is there was a pregnant woman in Birmingham, Alabama, who got into an altercation, and she was shot, and her baby died. Who's prosecuted? Not the shooter, but the woman who was pregnant, because she supposedly provoked the fight. The other woman was standing her ground and was allegedly responsible for killing her own baby. Now, fortunately, the charges were dropped, but there are a number of cases in the country that are like that, where women are being prosecuted for similar things. And I thought that was, even sort of the logical extension of what's going on.
I remember that case. That was wild. I was like, what? What are you doing? Yeah. I mean, it's just weird. And I think a lot of this, sadly, is political, as opposed to just, can we just be human beings to each other? And people, we shouldn't, people make mistakes. That doesn't that doesn't excuse hurting someone else, or especially maliciously or intent. But yeah, it's some of these things are tragic enough as they are on their face of it. And sometimes maybe those are the lessons you learn. That's what I would learn if I had lost a baby picking a fight with somebody. I would have learned that, I did a horrible thing and maybe I should be better. But, and then of course, losing a child that's no small thing for especially a woman. So you delve into these different topics. Were you afraid maybe of writing something like this with engendering any sort of controversy because of the political fallout and stuff like this?
It's concerned me. I got a review, an individual review on somebody who had a pre-review copy wrote on Goodreads. This should be the legal thriller of the year, and I should have given it 5 stars. But based on my view of mother's rights, I'm giving it 3 stars. And I thought, I'm probably doing something right, because you want to get people to think and stir up controversy. I certainly don't want them to get, too angry at me, but it's a controversial issue, and I think the out-of-town lawyer pushes the envelope because, personally, I would have thought Destiny Gray should have this procedure to get the babies healthy, and so they wouldn't suffer, or go somewhere and terminate the pregnancy would have been more humane than what happened to her. Trying to push the moral issues and look at the things that are closer to the line that all sides might stop and question.
There you go. This is how we use art and comedy and stories like this to kind of put a reflection or a mirror up to ourselves and be like, is this the best method of what we're doing and how we're being the best way we can be? And so that's kind of what art does. I mean, it puts a mirror up to us and goes, maybe we're not the best people of human nature, and hopefully we can be subjective towards it and be like, yeah, maybe we should be better. Comedians do that where they kind of reflect and joke about some of the stupid things and bad things we do. And I think hopefully it gives some people pause. I know I've sometimes looked at comedy and went, yeah, he's being funny, but he's actually really right. We probably should be better. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
You go back and certainly comedy, and I think fiction and entertainment can change. You go back and look at Lenny Bruce now, and growing up, when I was growing up, he was being thrown in jail, and now it's pretty innocuous humor. It's nothing. And he did, and others like him did change society, I think, for the better, and encourage free speech. I think it's backlash now, unfortunately. So I totally agree with that. It's interesting that the comedy has changed, and what was unacceptable is now acceptable.
Yeah, Lenny Bruce, man. He took a lot of crap. Jim Morrison, The Doors. He was always getting arrested on stage for saying stuff. Right. Even I just saw something recently I didn't know about this. I think I remember this at the time, but there was a song that Nirvana did, and I'm going to use a different word here, Grape Me. And I guess MTV was going to cut the commercial if they started the song, and so they started the song because they're Nirvana. And I remember thinking, wow, that's where we're at right now. I remember, wasn't it with the Doors and Jim Morrison on the Ed Sullivan Show where they didn't want him to do the high song, or he didn't want them to say, they're just getting high. There's a line or something in one of their songs about getting high. And so they didn't want that on the thing, but he did it anyway. But yeah, it's interesting how there's a lot of this First Amendment stuff, and now it seems to be a bigger battle than ever. Yeah, about free speech.
Yeah, it goes in waves. The flip side is that I actually had a case about copyright in sports, and went back and looked at the Bad News Bears, because one of the arguments to make is, look, this is just in the genre, and the Bad News Bears, the language in there is completely inappropriate and racist, and I was just uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah,
movie, but so. Yeah, our standards changed. It's interesting you mentioned Jim. I just read that Bob Dylan, and I can't remember the song, refused to do the Ed Sullivan Show because he wanted to sing something, relating, I think, to politics. So we wanted to sing the John Birch Society blues. And even though the John Birch Society was, the extreme, probably now much more in the norm with some people these days, but then Dylan refused to go on the show.
There you go. Art gets used in that way. So what's the future look for you? Are you working on anything new that you can tease to us?
In 2025, I have a book coming out called A True Verdict, and also about kind of current events. A plaintiff sues a former employee of a drug company, sues, claiming that he was fired both because he blew the whistle and because he was black when he accused the company of putting out a drug and covering up records that disproportionately killed black people. And the drug was supposedly something that would cure or at least help opiate addiction. And the company's only drug. And it's told from the perspective of about 15 different people, the jurors, some of the lawyers, etc. I like to say it's a combination of 12 Angry Men and William Faulkner as I lay dying. The only time I get to compare myself with William Faulkner. So
there you go.
In structure. But it deals again with racism and corporations, et cetera, and a jury, a completely dysfunctional jury.
There you go. Sounds like you're going after some sacred cows again.
Yeah, we'll see. It makes more people mad.
There you go. Mono La Mancha. Go after those windmills. And I don't know if that's the right analogy, but we'll just run with it. Chase after those windmills. Go take them out. We need that in art. We need those reflections back to us. We need to talk about these challenges, and of course, stuff like this makes for great movies too. Has anyone approached you at coming out working on this new book? Maybe optioning it for a movie yet?
No one's approached me yet. I do take, having been kind of on the outskirts of the entertainment business. I'm a lawyer, not an entertainment guy, but I know enough to know that even if you get an option, for me it's congratulations. But I hope the lightning strikes for you.
There you go. I think it'd make an interesting book. It would, it's right on point for being topical for what's going on right now. Yeah, most definitely. Final thoughts as we go out, and your .com.
Yeah, final thoughts is thank you for having me. And the .com again is robertrotstein.com.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Robert. We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks to us for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And